So in today's episode of Connecting Dots, we are with Miss Sita Lekshmi. She's the general manager of Aloft Bengaluru. She's worked with Oberoi's, Accor, Marriott, and now she's a GM here. We want to get into the life of a general manager, someone who came from base level and becoming a GM so early. She has more than 18 years of experience in this industry. And let's get into this conversation and see how this entire journey was for her. Hi, how are you, ma'am?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good. I was very excited about this podcast because there's an odd combination. You being a hotelier and also you are now first runner-up for Mrs. India 2023.
Yes.
So tell me about your journey.
Sure. So I think I knew very young that I'm going to be a hotelier. When I was 12, I decided that I'm going to be a hotelier.
Oh.
It was one of the options.
Okay.
So in a very recent interview, I said, if I was not to be a hotelier, I would have been a journalist. And this interview would have reversed. I would have been taking someone's interview because that was something that interested me a lot. I used to read a lot and I thought I wrote well. I used to write short stories, poems, and I've won some Kerala Literature Academy Award, if you're aware of the Kerala Literature Academy. So it was either of the options. However, my mother is the one who pushed me to the edge of hospitality because she said, that's more of a suitable role for a lady. And I don't know what made her say this.
Do you think is it?
No. See, I don't believe that genders fit into any particular role. It's to do with what you're passionate about.
Correct.
So I don't really agree with that, but I am definitely okay with the fact that she pushed me to this. Her reason to push me into hospitality was because she thought journalism was more unpredictable as a career than hospitality, where this was more of a guarantee of a job. It's a safer work environment where you're not going out much. So from a single mother's perspective, for a girl that was just growing up and was adventurous, she thought confiding her into a hotel's four walls would be more safer. So I know where that thought came from.
So it was conditioned at the age of 12 till now that you have to become a hotelier.
Yeah. So that conditioning didn't happen from my mother. So I have a cousin who was at that time studying for hotel management, who later became a hotelier. He left the industry when he was still very young. But I was very fond of him. He was my cousin brother. And because I was fond of him, I used to look up to him and I used to say, I will also do what he's doing. So it was a very natural reaction of a young girl who looked up to somebody like a role model, like a brother, big brother. And then when I grew up, this was one of the options because I was talking about it at home. And the second option was, of course, journalism.
Was he talking about good thing about the hospitality or the bad thing?
Yeah, he was very passionate about it, but it didn't last though. Very recently, when I won an award, I wrote him a thank you note and he wrote back to me as a joke that my apologies for this.
Because I remember when I was getting into the hospitality, a lot of people came and said that मैं तो कर रहा हूँ, अपने बच्चों को नहीं बोलूँगा करने के लिए.
I've heard that a lot.
That was the kind of era that we were working.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now I think a lot of things has changed.
True.
So you got into hotel management and then you came out. The first job was with Oberoi's, right?
Correct.
How was the experience when you got into the hotel first time?
I was very excited. I always knew that I wanted to work with a very renowned brand, either Taj or Oberoi's. And back in the day, we didn't have, I didn't even have information about Marriott or Hyatt. We knew either we have to get into management training with Taj or Park or ITC. Leela was still kind of new, but the giants were the Oberoi and Taj. So I had my eyes set onto either of them. And then the Oberoi's was more attractive to the young mind that I was. And then I went in to join them as a front office associate. And then my mother, again, has been a very big influence in my life. And she wanted me to do MBA. And I said, I want to go for OCLD. So we had that debate. And she said, if you do MBA, then you can go for OCLD.
Okay.
Yeah, it was almost like, what do you call it? A bargain deal, right? So my second year of MBA and first year of OCLD, I did it together. My MBA was correspondence. Okay. And then I went to Delhi to pursue my further studies with OCLD. So that's how that happened. And after that, I moved into food and beverage.
You completed MBA?
I completed MBA, I completed OCLD.
Wow.
Yes.
And simultaneously, you were doing both of them.
Correct. So the first year of OCLD, I had to do both the exams. But luckily, in this correspondence, you have a choice to choose your exam date. So I gave my third and fourth sem together. It was very difficult. But I think at that time, things worked out. When you are 22, your brain is still young and it's still processing.
I'm still thinking why your mother didn't give you an option of becoming an IAS.
No, I grew up in a very small village. We didn't even have, in fact, that thought did cross my mind, because people who choose economics or psychology or politics end up going to IAS also, but we did not even have training centers for IAS in the village that I grew up in. I say this story to many people. They find it very hard to believe that I studied in a Malayalam medium school. I studied geography and maths in Malayalam and not in English. And I walked to school 4 kilometers one way every day. We didn't have tarred roads. It was mud roads. It's a beautiful story, but many people think it's a myth.
Because looking at you right now, they can't relate it. And
correct. Yeah.
I have one nice story for my own self.
Yeah? It's interesting. You should tell me.
Not today. So it's your podcast. So I understood that you came from this background. And what is your thought right now? So from Oberoi's, you went into FNB. Why are you changing from front office was good? Were you not liking it?
Absolutely.
Or you wanted an exposure in FNB as well?
So, my career changes, the diversity that I have experienced happened to me by chance. And I call it good luck of, some kind, because I was very comfortable and happy and I was an expert in front office, right? So Mr. Oberoi saw me and he sat me down for the graduating interview and looked at my scores of my, previous working, and then he said, she's too good with front office, she probably doesn't know anything in FNB, put her in discomfort so that she learns. And I think that's the best thing that happened, because not everybody takes an interest in a person's profile like that. They would want to keep you where you're good at, and he took a chance. And I think he does that with all his management trainees, especially the GSMs, which is mostly handpicked by him. So that's how I went into FNB. I was terrified, because it's vast. It's more than anyone can think of, because it's a world out there that's coffee and wine and cheese and you name it, it's there. But I think that's the best thing that happened to me, because the years I spent in food and beverage were the years of learning. And even till today, if later I moved on to sales and marketing and later rooms division and then becoming a GM, my F&B time gives me the confidence to pull things through, because I strongly believe that comes as a backbone of understanding a hotel. Even if it's a rooms driven hotel, having that F&B knowledge is very important as a hotelier.
As a GM, I think everything should be in your basket.
Correct.
From F&B to sales, you said sales.
Correct. Yeah, that also happened to me, because I took a maternity break.
Okay.
I was in food and beverage, and then I took a maternity break when I had my son. And when I wanted to come back to work, I thought, what now? Let me apply for a few jobs. And there were some openings in sales, and there was catering sales. And because I was from my F&B background, they thought it would work. But I wanted to get into corporate sales. I was very clear on that, because I wanted to explore. And then there was Accor, which was opening its first combo hotel of Novotel Ibis, very close to my home. And I thought it was convenient. I had a 1-year-old at home. So I went for an interview and it worked out. And I was with them for almost 8 years after that. I left the company as a general manager. So it was a nice thing to do.
Tell me something more about sales. So for you, what was sales when you started joining? So when you started the sales journey, so it was very different from front office to F&B. Were you not struggling into this?
Absolutely. I love the struggle. I'm all for the pain. Like I said, when I joined F&B, I was terrified. When I went to sales, my designation was sales manager. And most sales manager come with a good 6-7 years of experience in sales. And the first day in the briefing, they said, did you all do your DSR? I did not know what a DSR was, and I was a sales manager. There were executives and assistant managers looking at me. So probably I faked it till I made it in sales. But what happened to me? Again, good thing. Challenges make you stronger. It teaches you a lot. It makes you resilient. And my general manager gave me 2 challenges. And he said, this account we've been trying for last 2 years. Nobody could break into this account. And he said, in 3 months, I want you to be ready to do a sales training for the juniors. 2 challenges. And I think that kind of did the wonder for me, because I walked the road, did my research, went to that account. I was able to bring them around in 4 months, at least for a show around, for a catering order, and an event after that, and finally RFP. So I did crack that account, which was a big challenge for some time for them.
RFP means it was a big corporate? If
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
you can share the name.
No, let's not.
So when did you realize that sales is okay, now I have to look for a leadership role? What change in people's mind? So I'm asking this question to a lot of people who are right now in leadership positions. I'm asking, what changes in your head? So one is in gradual growth that
Right.
you look for, that I want to become a GM.
Right.
Other one is someone is very desperate and says that I'm motivated enough because I came into a hotel, I want to become GM.
Right.
So was it there throughout, or on a journey you said, no, this is the position that I want to hit for?
So I was growing very consistently in sales, and I became director of sales, and we opened the Novotel on Chemiers Road. About 1.5 years into the opening, I started thinking, what's next? Because in that market, there was nothing to grow further into. Because there was already a cluster director of sales and marketing, and as long as that position is open, nobody else becomes, or you have to wait to become that for the person to move. I thought that was very red taped at that point. So what do you do next? If you can't grow in sales, what am I good at? Then the operations bug came back to bite, and I thought it would be a good idea. And Accor as a company has a great platform, many great platforms called IELPs and IHMPs, and Marriott also has such development program for leaders. So we have ELP, MDA, all those things. So there was such a platform. And in the first year when I wanted to apply, I was told that you are in sales and you need to be able to move into operations to apply for this. So I knew that I had to switch to operations, and there was a vacancy. And I put my word forward that I would like to. And I think the background of food and beverage and front office helped. So they were willing to move me into rooms division. And then I was there for another 1.5 years, and I did that. I gave that interview, cracked into that program, did that program for 1 year. This was the year 2020 when pandemic had hit. And the entire year I was under training. And it's just good fortune that happened that an opportunity came up for me to become GM right after I completed the program. So I took that up and moved on. So I like I said, it's just the path that just opened itself as you traveled.
So one is that you were looking after the department. Now you're looking after the hotel. People look up to you, and probably some of them will be looking at that I want to become like you. You are an idol for a lot of people. What is leadership for you right now? So looking at your team, managing all of them, what is your way of leadership?
Okay. So I think the core of leadership for me is trust. Yeah, I believe that you give trust, you trust people. It takes time to earn trust, and through trust comes respect, and through respect comes loyalty. And irrespective of where you are in your personal life, professional life, be it your clients, your service providers, or your team, this is the root for me. It's through trust, you build respect and loyalty.
And how you trust people?
It's very easy for me to trust people. I trust people till they break it.
So
and
I can relate this answer to, because I was asking him, Anand, because I'm doing a business. I said, is there a science that using this is the parameter you can trust? And he gave the same answer. He said, you have to trust them. They will break it. You have to come back and trust again.
yeah.
So that's your motto of leadership.
Yeah.
So being a female general manager, and throughout my life, it's been 16, 17 years, I worked in hotel. There are less number of females who are becoming GM. Now there are more. But I think at your time when you became GM, what was the feeling? Because it's a male-dominated word, I think. And I will say it very loud and clear to a lot of people, because I've seen male around, a lot of male around. So how do you deal with this? Because do they take it with open heart now, or is it the same thing that was there before?
So I'll first talk about how I feel about this. So when I started my career, and at work, I was always very independent. my eyes were set on who's my competition and how to be the best. And I would only look at competition on the next level. So if I'm an associate, I will look at my supervisors or executives and how to beat there, get there. I will not bother who's a GM because that's some years down the line. So it's like that Mahabharat story where Arjuna only looks at the eye of the bird. I went with the eye of the bird every time. So right now, I really don't need to worry who's a country head or vice president of Asia Pacific, right? So I have never really worried about that. I have only looked at what's next for me, right? No, not now. when I started my career. So, but with generic, now I'm talking about the industry diversity as a whole. It has come a long way, right? And it is going to change very fast. And when I started my career, I have even worked in Fidelio. Today, there are people, 90% of my team does not know what Fidelio is, right? So, it's changing like anything, and the change is quicker. And now diversity does not only mean women. We are talking about LGBTQ community and specially abled and how to increase that percentage of members in our hotels, right? So, I don't really see that as a challenge because I've always spoken about it and been very vocal that gender should not matter in a boardroom. Gender should not matter when you wake up and come to work because your delivery, your performance does not have anything to do with gender, right? And very recently, and I will not name the company, yesterday, my leadership team and I was having a conversation and they said that in this particular company, they've rolled out a program that if you are a lady, your score is +1. So if you are supposed to get a good, you will get an excellent. And if you're supposed to get excellent, just because you're a woman, you get an outstanding. And I immediately was against it. I said, women don't need your charity of +1. We work hard and it shouldn't matter
Just
anywhere.
give the equal opportunity will perform.
Absolutely. Because this will create hatred.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's like it'll become like the American dream and the American stealing of jobs. Men will start complaining that just because. And I as a person, and I don't even say I as a woman, I as a person, I feel very against that. Because that way you are actually excluding women. You're saying +1.
It's a privilege that you're giving, basically.
Why?
Yeah. Because they can work hard. I think giving equal opportunity is good. I've seen Marriott rolling out a program where they are advancing female leadership, and that's very good as an opportunity. But I think, yeah, you are right. Giving leverage is not right.
Absolutely not. Merit should always prevail.
Yeah.
And everyone must be able to wake up, come to work and prove their mettle, irrespective of gender. It shouldn't matter.
So, life now, how is it with kid, with crown on your head, and being a GM? How's the life
It's
now?
good. I want to tell you a little bit about what happened at Mrs. India Pride of Nation 2023. This year, on February 2nd and 3rd, I kept a strategy meet for my leadership team. And in the leadership team, I said, this year, I want to tell you all that growth comes from discomfort. So this year, let's all take a pledge to go out there and do something that makes you uncomfortable. And then I kept thinking, what do I do? And then I was scrolling down on my Instagram one day in March, and then this thing came up. And I have never been a fashionista or a pageant person. But I said, why not? You know, if not now, when? Maybe this can be my uncomfortable thing I do this year. Because I've always been a hotelier and I don't know anything other than to run a hotel, right? But I pressed that button, I registered, and I said, it's okay, let's see what happens. And when I got the call for audition, when I went for the audition, when I got through and when I, things stage by stage evolved and I was in the finale, I didn't even tell my team a day before I left to Jaipur for the pageant. I said, I want 5 days leave. And they're like, what happened? I said, nothing, I'll come back and tell you. But the day before, I told them I'm going for a pageant. And they were all, I don't know what, they were all shocked, I think. And I went, and then the grand finale, I got a crown as first runner-up. And then I came back, and then I told them that this was my uncomfortable thing I did this year.
Yeah.
So it showed results. And I think, like I said, this is how you need to build trust, right? Because I proved it with my action, and all of my team members are doing something out of their comfort zone for their own growth. It's nice to see as a team, we have that interlinked trust in each other.
So do you aspire people with this action, or is there mentorship also that is required, that you believe that leader should be someone who should not give mentorship, but whereas you can lead by action, or you can also go back and train people and give them the knowledge that you can part right now?
So I see it in a very three-folded way, because I can only train if I'm a subject matter expert, right? So that will be limited to people in front office a little bit, or F&B a little bit, or sales to the max extent. But mentoring can happen with anyone, right? And as a general manager, trust me when I say this, some people expect me to manage them. And it's okay. It's the way they like it. So what you need to do is, when you enter that boardroom with your leadership team, I read the room and I realize who doesn't need micromanaging and who needs that and who needs a little bit managing, right? So the free birds who like to fly on their own, let them do that. The ones that need a little hand holding or a nudge, do that. And the ones that want you always down their neck, let's do that. But what works for them is what works for me. So I do coaching, mentoring, training according to the need of the hour.
So I asked this question to GM, one of the GM. What is hospitality for you? And this is, so the hospitality as a industry, as a job, as a career is different for everyone. Some
Correct.
it is an aspiration for someone it is status, for some it is point where they go for a job. That's it.
Yeah.
What is for you?
So, it may sound very philosophical right now, but I think hospitality for me is home. I come home when I come to work.
So if that's the answer, I give you the answer. I've got this from one with GM, and he said that hospitality for me is a lifestyle person.
Yeah.
So I want to understand, what is home?
So this is where I feel the best of myself. And when I say that, I don't feel least of myself anywhere else. I like to be present in what I do right now. So I'm here with you on this couch right now, and I'm with you 100%, and this is home for me. So home for me means where you're comfortable the most, where you have a support system of interdependent individuals that you've built. Now that can be home, that can be here at work, which you call home, because I do call this hotel family, Aloft family, to my team. I speak that, and if I speak that, it has to come from here, and I have to mean it, and I have to live by it, and that's why hospitality for me is home. And every time I have left a hotel, it has been very heartbreaking, and it takes me 60 to 90 days to build the home in the new place. And that's how I know it takes time for me to leave. I have this withdrawal syndromes from previous hotel to getting used to this. It takes time because you're emotionally connected. I think applying EQ to work is very important because this is where you spend most of your time. And if you're not present and aware in the now and does not make it home, it's not something fun to do between the weekends.
I can relate that.
So that's what it is for me.
So one thing, I don't know how this will come as an answer from you, but what is a good general manager?
Okay. A good general manager is somebody who's compassionate of everything else. Compassionate because you have the ability to change, inspire people's lives. So compassion is a key for me. At the same time, if you want to be successful, you need to keep up with the changing trends. So if you're careful about how you conduct yourself compassionately around people and keep up with the changing trends of technology as well as market trends, because at the end of the day, you are running a business that has to generate revenue. If you put the compassion and the changing trends, adaptability together, for me, that becomes a good GM.
Let's talk about hospitality as a whole now. So India right now is on a peak. So we have seen G20 and a lot of people and a lot of strategists are coming and saying that next 5, 10, 15 years is for India. What is next 5, 10, 15 years for hospitality in India? What is your view on this?
I think it's going to be great because I recently was reading a report by World Travel and Tourism Council that hospitality will generate 86 million new jobs by 2027. And it says new jobs. So I read it twice to see, was it 86 million jobs? No, it said new jobs. So people have asked me this during COVID that do you worry AI taking over or the American style? I believe that Asia Pacific as a hospitality legacy that it has, it will never become AI driven. Definitely not in the next 2 decades for sure. And the trends are showing positivity. And after COVID, the way that we are growing back, I think we are rocking the world's entire GOP put together. Middle East, Thailand, Vietnam, Asia, India, Asia as a whole is doing better than pre-COVID numbers. So for me, that's very reassuring as a future for the industry. What I want to say here is then there was this talk about talents not choosing to be and hospitality colleges going empty. I think every industry goes through the peak and the lows, right? Maybe for hospitality education sector, maybe this is a low. It will definitely pick up because it's definitely a promising career for people who are obsessed about it.
Yeah.
And if you're not obsessed about it and driven, this is definitely not for you.
Yeah.
And it is to do with, it's not just for hospitality. Let's take dancing, for example. If you're a classical dancer, there are a lot of people who started at the age of 3 or 4 and they'll quit by 14, 15 by the time the parents' pressure goes away.
Yeah.
The truly driven ones become the Padma Subramaniams or the Ramya Vaidyanathan, right? But hospitality is just like that. You start.
You did the dance earlier in your age?
I am a dance student. I learned Bharatanatyam, yes.
Good. So I think you said it right, that passion for people who are passionate about this industry. I think one more thing that we missed, and I've discussed this in one of my podcasts, where I said that institution has to change the way that they're teaching people now.
Yeah.
So I've seen students still going through all the same old syllabus, and they've been taught in a way where they think hospitality is too complicated, but I don't think that hospitality as an industry is complicated. There are few things you do it right. I think the growth is immense here, and there's a lot of money which is going to come into this industry. We're going to be what? $6 trillion economy. We're going to be 7-8% to the GDP.
Absolutely.
Whereas compared to agriculture, which is 14-15%, we are growing. And with growing industry, I think we will need a lot of manpower to come and join this industry. And there is no effort that I see coming through the bigger institution. I'm not talking about the hotel companies and leaders like you. We are doing our bit. But there has to be a global level push that has to come through to make sure that we are not facing these issues in coming days. Because a lot of hotels are going to come in.
Yeah.
How many hotels that you think that is going to come in next 5 years in India?
Just with Marriott?
Just with Marriott.
Another 100.
It's too much of opportunity.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
what's your next uncomfortable thing that you're looking at?
I don't know. I will let it come to me when the time comes.
You enrolled in the Save Soil campaign.
Yes. I am a volunteer with Isha Foundation. I have been with Isha for, I think now 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So I come up to this question because when I talk to a lot of GM, Prashant, there is no time for life. And I have seen a lot of GM saying that I want to rest now. So after 60 or 50, they will take a break and they will sit down. How do you manage all of this?
So I think it takes me back to the previous one of the questions I answered. I think the trick is to be mindful of your now, right? Everybody has 24 hours.
Yes.
And I like to sleep 7 hours
Okay.
because it's a good thing to do. I believe that you must work out well, you must work well, and you should sleep well and eat well. This is the only secret to longevity. A safe, good, healthy life, right?
And how to do all of this?
So I wake up at 5:30. I sleep at 10. I am that woman that sneaks out of parties at 9:30. Probably the lady that stands with tonic water with a slice of lime and says, okay, I'm letting my secret out. You need to cut this part. This is just for you. This is not for the world. But so I sleep and I wake up at 5:30. I was kid to send to school. I start my day with gym or yoga. And then I come to work because by the time I reach work, my email is empty. My inbox is empty. I finish that. So that I have time to look at larger things, talk to my people, do my morning meetings, sit in the lobby, talk to my guests, take around just to see rooms, the kitchen, the receiving area. I walk around the hotel when I need to. Because when you're present, I call it body in the building. Earlier, before certain period, maybe before I became GM, I used to have this phobia of being away from the hotel. I wanted body in the building. Even if I was not doing anything, I will feel comfortable when I'm physically present here. Now that's lifted because I believe in empowering my team.
Yeah.
And in the last 18 months that my team has been working with me, all of them have grown to become very empowered managers, and it doesn't give me jitters. And I've realized that you need to hire people smarter than you in their area of expertise so that things are taken care of, your guests are taken care of, and I'll make sure that the employees are taken care of. So that gives you time. Even if you're spending time in the hotel, I have a beautiful staff gym. We call it Revive. Maybe I'll show you around after the podcast if we have time. And it has a PlayStation and a carom board and a table tennis space. So that's for my team to unwind. And I think it's important that they do that because, see, in your base level, you may not be able to afford to go join a gym.
Yeah.
And you can't go to a play arena and do something. So us doing what we can do.
This is Marriott initiative or your initiative?
So Marriott's one of the big core value is putting people first. That's our first core value, putting people first. So I have taken from that core value and I've created this gym. This was inaugurated just a month ago.
Oh, so that's your initiative.
Correct.
Matching the core value of Marriott.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe that people should work out. And youngsters must definitely work out because you're wasting your years if you start late.
Yeah.
So I don't push them, but there is the thing. And after the gym has come, I am seeing a lot of people going and working out, and it makes me very happy because you're creating conscious new generation.
Yeah. So with new generation, I understood this, that you are doing a lot of stuff for the inner staff. I think there is a shift in the kind of guests that we are seeing now. How are you coping up with so you have seen 18 years, 19 years of total hospitality as a segment, and there was different kind of guests there. There was just different kind of expectation. Now there is a different kind of expectation for them. How are you keeping up with this?
So, like we spoke about the changing trends, right? So the guest expectations also have changed over the years. Now, earlier, probably people used to like that service where you stood by and poured water in style in a certain way, and you asked them twice during the meal, I hope you're comfortable. Today's traveler, especially in business hotels, don't want you breathing down their neck. They like their privacy. They may be working on their tabs or laptops, and they want to, especially breakfast, they are in a hurry.
Yeah.
Lunch and dinner, they don't want to be bothered much. I've only seen in resorts, people are ready to engage in conversations. In business hotels, the body language tells you that stay away, which is fine. And especially in our company, we have something called Marriott Bonvoy, which is our loyalty program. Apart from being one of the largest Bonvoy loyalty program in the world, it is also something that helps us personalize our guest expectations because we have something called GXP, which is guest experience. It's a tool that allows us to read into their preferences, their previous stays, what has been the trends during their previous stays, not only in our hotel, but also across the Marriott network. I think that came handy for me when I joined the company because that was very helpful. And apart from that, guest expectations, there is only, again, one word for that. That's empathy. We take trainings to our team on empathy as a word because everybody talks about empathy. It's a very overused word like sustainability and underutilized if not trained well, because a 20-year-old who has done online college during pandemic and comes to work, is seeing a hotel for the first time, and you tell him you should act with empathy, he'll shake his head and go do what he has to do. So we do some extensive trainings on empathy. I have a nice training manager. She's very driven, and I conduct some sessions on communication, on conscious communication, and that is to generate empathy. And one of the key element in that training, we put up 5 chairs out there. And I give a situation. These are the 5 chairs you can choose to act, how your response to a situation can be.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is also your idea.
So this is a training module I developed in pandemic when I had a lot of free time in hand. There were no guests in hotel. So I call it PCC. The training module is called PCC. It's not pseudo city code. It is precise, conscious, and compassionate communication. So I think that's very important, and that takes care of empathy for us in the hotel. And once the leadership team was trained on this, it goes down the spiral, and it's a good thing. It trickles down. So we even won the highest guest satisfaction award in Asia Pacific last year. And I think that's because that empathy is present.
So I think we have talked a lot about your hotel, that what you're doing. There is a level there, there is employees who are working in this industry. I feel there is a lot of mental pain that they go through every day because they are meeting different kind of people with different moods, with different mindset. And do you think that is there anything which is happening around and people should look into it, that getting a great mindfulness in the hotel should be one point which should be there with all the hotel company as a pillar, as a vision that they should look at? So while you are doing this, do you think that it is happening around every hotel?
Again, I have to come back to Marriott International. It has equipped us with something called Equilibrium.
Okay.
So we have a tool called MGS. It's everyone has access to it. Everyone has an ID and login to it. And Equilibrium talks to you about handling stress. And every day you get a reminder. Have you drank your water today? Have you meditated today? I think today's topic, what I received was how to handle conflict. And it's a nice 5-minute read. Now, the company can only give you the content. It can't spoon feed you. Okay. And that's where I come into the picture, where I decide, okay, this month, let's take conflict resolution, let's put it into training. Because if I am a F&B associate and I'm running with a tray of coffee, the last thing in my mind is read Equilibrium, right? So the training manager has to take the lead on that, because I may have the time to read through it. But when I was a F&B associate, if my GM told me read this, I would laugh at her.
Yeah, of course. वो हमारे पास word होता था तब buzzard.
Buzzard अभी भी चल रहा है. Buzzard is not going to end.
Yeah. So everyone is so busy, and I think ये बड़ा problem है, and people personally has to take it up. I think companies are doing their bit, but till the time at the level of leadership, if there are not right set of people,
absolutely,
I think that's not going to help out. And still, I've seen at the old era general managers who are there, they still feel that you should work for 12, 13, 14 hours. And being Basar, this is what the era that has left us with. With new generation coming in, the people like you who's becoming GM, I think the age will have a better environment to work in hotel. One thing that I want to ask you, how do you choose your team? So when you take interviews or probably, hire someone, what are your parameters when you look at as a GM that this can be a great fit for my team?
So I believe in that old ask, attitude, skills and knowledge. Okay. But I go for attitude first, for sure. Depending on where I'm hiring the person. For example, if it's culinary and I'm hiring him or her for a specific skill, like let's say Oriental, and I want a sushi chef, then I have to definitely look at the skill.
Yeah.
But I think every interview is different. Like every pregnancy is different. You have to have a different approach to every single designation. I can't go with the same mindset for a chef versus guest relation executive to a gym trainer. I have to adapt into the situation. But in all situations, the ask remains the same. That's the only constant in an interview. And if skills and knowledge ticks the box, and if attitude doesn't, I still don't hire. If attitude, skills tick and knowledge doesn't, it's still trainable. If attitude, knowledge ticks and skills doesn't, it's still trainable if it's a trainable job. So attitude then becomes the highest parameter for me.
I don't know. I want to sound like a gender bias, but I want you to give a general advice to people who are in the race of becoming a GM.
What to women?
To women.
Because you just said I don't want to be gender biased. Is it to women or to everybody?
You can give to both the genders.
Actually, it's the same for both. Yeah. Like I said, at work, gender shouldn't matter. You shouldn't become a GM just because you're a woman. You should not get an opportunity just because you're a man. Yeah. If your merit is there and you're working hard, you should be given an opportunity. So my message to aspiring general managers, irrespective of gender, is that be resilient and never quit, because there are bad days and there will be bad days. And in every designation, there are bad days. And bad days doesn't define us. Just like how good days doesn't define us. So if we get carried away with the good days, it's very easy to be disheartened by the bad days. For me, what helps and what has helped me and what will help everybody is to keep that balance of understanding that a good day doesn't define you, neither does a bad day. And what I tell my people always is that the praises and even the bad stuff that happens, it does not happen to Sita. It happens to the general manager of X hotel, right? It happens to the designation. So that's a rule that I take, because you can't take things personally. Your role doesn't define who you are. It only defines what you are. And you cannot carry the burden of what happens at work back home, because it will break you, because there will be terrible days, right? So that's my advice, to not take things personally and understand that it's a designation that has to take that decision. It's the designation that has to go through what it has to go through, and not the person. And during pandemic, I saw a lot of people break down when they lost a job, because what defined us were what we were and not who we were, right? Yeah. And then we discover who we are, and we come back so strong, because who we are has always been better than what we were. Cool, right?
So remind me that I lost a job in COVID.
Yeah. And didn't it make you an amazing comeback? Did it give you an amazing comeback?
Yes, because I was angry. I said, okay, fine, that I have to go back to this industry because I loved it. And I said, I will do it myself. If you don't give me job, doesn't matter.
Look at that. Isn't that a resilient story? And that's what it is for me. Beautiful.
Great. One last question and we'll wrap it up. So, like we said, that there was a lot of hue and cry that there was not enough number of students going to IHM college. I want you to give an advice or a bold sentence to the people who are now in a college, probably will think of going into hospitality or are 50% sure. What should be the ideal thing that they should be looking at if they want to come into hospitality industry?
Okay. So I think for students, they need to have an awareness of what they would really like to do with their lives. Because like I said, hospitality is for people who are passionate about it. And if they do realize this is what it is for me, if they're looking for just a job, even then it's a good thing to come into this industry, because this industry is very promising. Like I said, there's going to be 86 million new jobs, right? So there's not going to be a lack of opportunities for somebody to grow. And especially for the confused ones, whether I'm going to be in it or no. When I came in, I thought I will spend 2 years and go. I did not know I'm going to last. And nobody comes with a plan, or maybe somebody comes with a plan, I don't know. But plans necessarily doesn't have to work out. So as long as you keep your eye on the prize as to what's next for you, and then keep doing an amazing job day in and day out. Amazing job for you, not to prove it to somebody else, but you should go home happy. Then this is the industry for you.
But don't you think the talent is going to get out of India very soon? Because GCC, Europe, there are other emerging countries which are now focusing on hospitality too much. And the center of manpower is us.
Correct. But then we have enough and more people to provide for India and outside. There's no dearth of population. So very recently we did this NGO who provides non-traditional hospitality talent, right? They are people who have not done hotel management or IHM necessarily, and what they do is they take people from socially, economically backward places, and they put them in hotels as job trainees. And I've had the privilege to have a few of them, and who trained under us, and we absorbed them into our payroll after that, because they were really good kids. So I'm okay with non-traditional hoteliering, because you yourself said that you were non-traditional, you didn't do. And in hospitality, one of the best bosses I've had was an army man.
Oh, really?
Who was not a hotelier. And it was part of my grooming to become a general manager, happened under his leadership. And he did not do hotel management. He was an army captain.
So I always looked at it in a way where there's a lot of unemployment. And if someone become a housekeeping executive, what does it take to become that? Is basically some higher executive housekeeper teach someone how to make bed, clean, what are the chemicals. These are small little things that you can train someone and bring them in a hotel, and they can have a better life, because now they're at the place, like you come from a smaller city, I come from a smaller city. There's a lot of people who would like to have a job, but there is a quote which says you have to be an IHM to get into a hotel. And that's the reason we are doing this podcast. I've created an app called as our own, where we are doing all of this. We're bringing a lot of content creators from the industry so that they can teach a lot of people and bring more employment here in this industry for people who are willing to come here. Thank you, Sita. It was nice talking to you, and your views are great. And I'm impressed about the way that you think of this hospitality industry. I think I will catch up again with you sometime with different topic and different views on hospitality.
Sure.
You are watching biggest hospitality podcast by a hotelier. Stay tuned. Follow us for more.